Subscribe and click the bell icon for the latest updates and notifications from the Indian Express.
Agriculture has been in the focus of this government, also in the election last time, for I think both positive reason and also for some negative reasons. And positive reasons are known to everyone, that it is such an important sector that it provides livelihood to close to half of population in terms of direct employment. Food is so important, and there are so many issues related to agriculture. Since 95, many people have been talking about agrarian distress, farmer suicide. So since this government is following this agenda of Sabka Vikas, Sabka Saath, so agriculture is very, very important for inclusive growth. Sometime back, I did a study to see that how much decline in poverty happened when there is 1% growth in agriculture and 1% growth in non-agriculture. So effect of agriculture on poverty reduction was significant, but effect of non-agriculture growth, direct effect on poverty was not showing any significant impact. And also agriculture, lot of changes have happened, though our mindset still be just always obsessed with the scarcity. But if I can share one number with you, then I will take your question. In 70s, we were producing 1 kg food per person per day. Food doesn't mean food grain. Food means total food, include fruit, vegetable, milk and other kind of things. And our population was, I think, something 56 crores. Now population is, more than 130 crores. And on per capita, we are producing 1.74 kg food per person per day. That is the kind of change which has happened in India. Foods. Taken total food together, 750 or 760 million ton, like that. So that is the situation in our country. It has its own implication for export, particularly for export and post-harvest management.
So, first question, do you think the Modi government in its first innings was too pro-consumer and not pro-producer?
I don't think it was pro-consumer at the cost of producers. We draw this conclusion after looking at inflation, that producer prices have risen at a very low rate after 14-15 when new government came to power. But if you look at history of agriculture prices, they move in cycles. So during 2006 to 2012, there was such a sharp increase in agriculture prices that whatever government had come, these prices are bound to fall. You look at international prices also, that even last 3 years also, there is a decline. 12 was the peak. After that, agriculture prices have been declining. And also, if we look at terms of trade for agriculture, that what prices farmer pay and what prices farmer receive, up to 15-16, it has been improving. During last 2 years, the prices paid by farmer increased at a slightly higher rate compared to the prices received by the farmers. But still, the terms of trade figure for 18-19 is higher than what was in 11-12. So I think the past trend was such that prices fell, and we feel as if this government is deliberately doing something to keep producer prices low. That was not the case. Government tried hard to keep these prices high by coming with new formula for MSP through procurement. But I think it was effect of international price, the cyclical phenomena, demand and supply cycle. It's very difficult for government to influence overall price index, strongly influence that.
I think you referred to scarcity of the past, which is not existent now. Do you believe that this is a time to scrap the Essential Commodities Act and all kinds of restrictions, stock holding, export restrictions, which tend to be very pro-consumer but anti-farmer?
just to say that pro-consumer, you know that farmer is consumer also. And most of our farmers, they are so marginal and small that they are net consumer, that they may be selling little bit, but what they buy from the market is more than that. But sector interest lies in what you are saying, that the interest of the sector is in those producer prices. You talked about Essential Commodity Act. In fact, I'm sure all of you might have read that in the meeting of the Governing Council of Niti Yog about 10-15 days back, last week, Saturday, we proposed some reform which also include your Essential Commodity Act, which also include market reform, which also include contract farming. So why we took it to the Governing Council meeting, while an Essential Commodity Act, I will say still it is in the hand of central government. Some policy entirely in the hand of central government, but some are not in the hand of central government. They are entirely in the hand of control of state government. So we wanted to discuss it in the that meeting, because all the chief ministers are member of Governing Council of Niti Yog. So it was discussed there, and at the end Prime Minister announced that a high power committee of chief minister will be constituted to just look into these reforms. In fact, in 2016, Government of India came with a order, and you find that now all food commodities, there is no restriction right now on stock, on control, on movement, there is no restriction. We talked to private people that now, since in 2016 government completely freed it, why still investment are not coming. So their concern is that government came with similar kind of ordinance in year 2002, but in 2006 when prices increased, you brought those control back. So their feeling is that unless the act changes, unless these commodities are taken out of the act, government always have this this handle with them, that if they find that situation is slightly going against the consumer, they bring those things back. So from Niti Yog side, we suggested a way out, that what could be the way out. Just classifying total commodity in two categories, food stuff and others. There are some commodity where I feel that still Essential Commodity Act is needed, but not in case of agri-food commodity. If there is a situation when there is a 20% decline in production, see, it can happen because climate change and all those things, you never know. If there is a natural calamity of extraordinary order, if there is a war, if there are those kind of very rare situation, only under those these provision will be brought back, otherwise they will not be.
How do you deal with the political opposition to any of the reforms that you are suggesting? How do you deal with that?
The need for stopping hoarding, black marketing didn't arise in most of the commodity. So supply situation is also better. Export is happening at a much faster rate than in the past. So because of these kind of situation, you just find that the need for Essential Commodity Act has not arisen for a long time. And because we are keeping it, the harm because of this are much larger. I also meet many politicians, leader of the political parties also. So we tell them so many examples where I like tell them that did you feel there was ever a need for Essential Commodity Act in egg? Egg is also important, and now egg production is not small. Do you feel that there was ever a need for putting Essential Commodity Act on this milk? So we gave so many examples that only in case of say onion, the price volatility go to extreme. You look at any other commodities, this kind of situation doesn't arise, and the best way to address that volatility is through stock and public stock and trade. Not by these kind of act. Situation has changed. People are now realizing, and I feel that if little courage is mustered, then this is possible. And you know, in the recent year, this situation arose in case of potato, in case of West Bengal, and West Bengal put potato under Essential Commodity Act. They didn't allow. It is the movement, it is the stock you can control, but that did lot of harm to the state of West Bengal. If you are doing these kind of things, people trying to find alternative. That today's India is different, today's commerce is different, situation has changed so much.
Sir, you talked about the MSP, government is discussing how to make MSP relevant. Any plan you have on this, how we can make this relevant?
We want center to do everything for agriculture. I think you are the people who can sensitize public about this thing, that agriculture is a state subject, but dealing with agriculture is a joint responsibility of center as well as states. Now, if you look at the commodities for which MSP is there, I think their total production will be 300 something million ton. If Government of India says we are taking care of rice and wheat, which together form 200 million ton, can't all other states combined together take care of 1/3 of the production? That's why under PM ASHA this option was given to the states. You please implement MSP, you procure produce, and you can procure up to 30%. Even in case of rice and wheat, after so many years of procurement, you see we are only 35 or that kind of percent. 30% is not a small amount. So 30% was a reasonable amount, and the central government offered to the states, if you procure it, whatever cost you will incur, we will make arrangement that you get finances, like to procure wheat and paddy they get finances. So provision was made that state will be provided finance to procure it. And secondly, if in the process of procurement and disposal there is a loss incurred, then up to I think 30%, exact I don't remember 30 or 35% of the loss incurred in these operations was also to be met by central government 100%. But state did it, it's not that they didn't do it, very small level. So I feel that if state come forward, center also procured other than rice and wheat, NAFED and FCI, they were asked. But asking only 2-3 central agencies to do procurement at that massive level is asking too much to the center. So when financial cost is being borne by the central government, state should come forward. They should take advantage of this PM ASHA. They should put in place procurement mechanism for the crops which are growing there.
Do we need to physically procure? Why can't it be a direct benefit transfer?
No, you are right. In fact, we have been suggesting this also, and you know I was first person to suggest that deficiency price payment scheme which was implemented by state of Madhya Pradesh. And also if you look at MSP of wheat today, it is 30% higher than what is international price. So export is becoming a serious problem. So if you procure at MSP today, you are in serious trouble. You distort market price, and as a result outlet is not there. That export will not happen because your domestic price is very high. So stock will start piling up, so many consequences. This is very good idea. In fact, under PM ASHA there were 3 options. One was of physical procurement. The second option of deficiency price payment is also there under PM ASHA. So state can go for it. My own estimate of experience of Madhya Pradesh are that it worked very well. But now we have prepared another improvement over it, where even Bhavantar kind of that asking each and every farmer, looking at price received by each and every farmer is not there. It is under discussion. I will not say that government is going to accept it, but we have presented it 2-3 times at the highest level. That is, but you are suggesting, but I proposed, and for some districts I have done this calculation also. After sowing of the crop, ask a farmer to register on a portal the area sown under different crops. Like now there will be kharif crop, so farmer reporting on the portal, I have 10 acre of land, 6 acre I am putting under paddy, 2 acre I am putting under jowar, and 2 acre I am putting under soybean. Okay. At the end of the season, for every state harvest season is defined. It varies of 8 to 12 weeks. In every district, be monitor but by the actual price received by farmer. That is available at Ag Market Net. In one district, there are on an average about 3-4 markets. So you take average of those 3-4 mandis for a FAQ, fair average quality of the produce, and if that price is lower than what is MSP offered to farmer, pay the difference for the area which he reported on the portal based on average productivity of the district. So this is the formulation which we are proposing, and the number which I am giving to support this formulation is that FCI to pay MSP to farmer of say 1600 rupee incur a cost of 700 to 800 rupees in that entire process.
Sir, with the implementation of PM Kisan, do you think it's logical for the government now also give instead of giving subsidized fertilizer subsidy to cash?
Income support and subsidy are two different things. Strictly speaking, subsidy is meant to promote use of a particular input and to ensure that production increases. That is the logic behind subsidy. This is how subsidies came into the system. So that is the logic of subsidy. When Dr. Rangarajan was chairman of Prime Minister Economic Advisory Council, so he asked me to do an exercise that if subsidies are completely bid on fertilizer and fertilizer is sold at market price, then what will be its effect on our food security and what will be its impact on agriculture production. So my calculation at that time, 4 years back, now situation may be slightly different, was that if you do it as a knee-jerk reaction, there will be 10% state decline in food grain production. So I look at PM Kisan as different. That is because farm prices remain low, government promised MSP, but farmer in many places did not get MSP. So just based on those kind of things that we need to give them some kind of income support, PM Kisan was there. Subsidy is another issue. To my mind, reforms in subsidy are needed. In case of agriculture, whether it is Indian agriculture, Chinese agriculture or US agriculture, subsidy is always there. But we can make subsidy less damaging or more efficient than but it is right now. There are two issues. One is that subsidy in case of barter and power. This is a very, very serious issue. It must be addressed. Even if we want to pay entire amount, I calculated for country as a whole, it is about 1 lakh crore rupee. That is the power subsidy. This will make very big difference to use of water. We did these calculation that how many irrigation a farmer will apply if you charge power at full cost than if you charge free. Farmer will use 40% less irrigation for paddy if power is fully priced.
We are seeing a rural sort of consumption slowdown and all, and it's visible all across. Now the government talked of increasing farmers' income by 4 times. Where are we on that?
You see, first of all, we should now understand that in India, it is not proper to use agriculture and rural synonymously. In rural India, only 1/3 of income now come from agriculture, 2/3 income come from non-agriculture activity. If you look at its growth rate in last 4 years, 5 years, last 3 years, and what is the long-term trend, there is no deceleration at all. though last 5 years are unique, this is important for you journalists, it has happened first time after 65 to 70 that we have 5 consecutive years of rainfall less than average, long term average. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and this is going to be the 6th year. It looks like again it will be less than LPA. According to meteorological definition, it may be normal, that if it is plus minus 6, it is normal, but long period average. Compared to long period average, this 19 will be the 6th year. And then I have seen for last 100 years, it never happened before that you have 6 consecutive years of rainfall less than what is the long period average. There were 3 bad years, 4 bad years, once there were 5 bad years, but not 6 bad years. So that stress is there, but despite that stress, you look at growth rate of value added in agriculture last 5 years, it is 2.9%, and that is the trend, which is the long run trend in the GVA. And last 3 years, this year we are expecting 2.8, and last 3 year average is more than 4%. And 2.8% growth rate in agriculture is not a bad growth rate, it is a biological activity. If growth rate suddenly become 5%, prices will crash. Farmer income will forget about doubling, it may decline by 30-40%. How you absorb so much increase suddenly is not easy kind of thing. So, in case of if there is something happening to rural demand, slow down, it is not because something terribly wrong in agriculture, something terribly wrong elsewhere. There could be many reasons. One reason could be that because of this loan waiving etc., flow of credit to rural area has reduced. We have to see how the picture comes, but much of the rural demand, when many industry people used to feel happy, rural demand is picking up. I have written somewhere in some newspaper that much of the demand from rural area is debt ridden. People take loan and buy commodity. It is not that there were internal income to equip a family to buy those kind of resources. So, that could be one reason. Slow growth in non-farm economy could be other reason. As far as agriculture is concerned, I did not see any slowdown. Farmer income doubling के लिए there are many things required, and to achieve that growth of doubling farmer income, according to my calculation, every year income should rise by 10 point something percent. Last 3 years including this year, the growth rate according to my calculation is 6%. So, it is less than 10%. We can still achieve that target if we are able to do something to prices, because if farmer get 10% more price than what he or she is currently getting, the income elasticity with respect to price is 1.6, his income will increase by 16%. So, if we want that this growth increase from say 6% to 12%, then to give that extra 6% kind of thing, I think if we can enable a farmer to get 4% higher price, then it is possible. Otherwise, right now the growth rate is slightly lower than what is the asking rate.
Things about the investment in agriculture, the two sectors that is where, what is your assessment and what needs to be done? One is the private big investment, and the second is the state's investment. So how are state governments investing? Are they productive or are they just public showcasing kind of thing? There is nothing investment, just to kind of a grand show. So how do you look at these two investment, the level of investment, and what needs to be done there?
If you look at public investment in agriculture as a percent of GDP, the latest available data shows it is about 2.35%. It remained most of the period 3%, but there is a big difference between 2.35 and 3%. When India got 4% growth, in fact, public investment has crossed 3%. It matters. Between center and state, almost 85% of public investment in agriculture, definitionally whatever is defined as public investment in agriculture comes from state. Yeah, see, agriculture is big for the state. 15% from the center, and that include mainly investment in water sector, irrigation, land, agriculture technology. So, when we say investment in agriculture, it is only these kind of items. Generally in our mind is bare housing, post harvest, they come in other under other head according to the system of accounts classification that we follow for national accounting. Agriculture mean irrigation, water sector, land improvement, improvement in inventory of livestock, private है तो buying tractor, having two wells, assets kind of thing. So, definitionally it is like this. But I feel is that the required and desired growth rate in agriculture investment should now come from investment by corporate sector. So, this investment by corporate in agriculture is very, very low. Agriculture cannot move to next stage of development. That is why Prime Minister, even addressing the parliament, he said corporate should not see only investment in making tractor and selling tractor. They should make investment in agriculture, within agriculture. So, I feel that this government will give big encouragement, create a enabling environment for corporate sector to make investment in agriculture. That will require changes in the regulatory environment, particularly facilitating contract farming. The total agriculture investment, I have data latest up to 16-17, it is 2.4%.
But how can they? I mean, the kind of things that we see, just look at the technology, the GM technology. You now must have read reports of Maharashtra farmers now protesting, demanding GM technology. What kind of investment, I mean, the one investment private sector can chip in is technology. I mean, the kind of environment that you have created in the last 5 years, there has been no movement from the central government on this issue. From where would they get confidence that we'll have we'll get a holistic framework where they can invest in the not only post harvest, they can choose whatever basket of item they want to invest in agriculture. I mean, GM technology is one classic example. Who is going to invest there?
No, you see, GM technology is not the only technology through which countries have made progress in agriculture. There is a public sensitivity about GM technology. It is not only government, because there is a public sensitivity. I feel that biggest damage to this was done when Jairam Rameshji took this issue to street, and those who were protesting, they were not knowing what for they are protesting. So, he took this issue which was to be decided by expert body to the street. आंध्रा में पूछा किसान से बताइए होना चाहिए. This is not something which, this should be decided by an expert body. On GM crop, Niti Yog during the time of Dr. Pana Gadia in our 3-year action program, we took a very balanced approach. It was like this. There should not be blanket ban on GM technology. In those areas where we are able to get success through conventional means, we should not encourage GM technology. But in some area like oil seeds, look at our soybean sector, productivity is not increasing, but bird is moving ahead. So, if in some area, in some pulses, in some oil seeds, we are not getting success through conventional technology, we should embrace even GM technology. It is written in the 3-year action agenda of Niti program. The second condition we put was, however, to allay fear of people that a lot of this royalty by private sector, etc. We should finance public sector research on this in a very big way, and our public sector was very close to developing a GM chickpea also. You know that Assam Agriculture University and some other, they were very close to developing a GM kind of things, and we developed GM mustard, and GM brinjal is our brinjal which is being grown by Bangladesh. So, that second thing is that it should be done by public sectors. So, this is what is our position, but I will say that beside this there are so many other opportunity for private sector. Even globally, people are not now so much depending upon GM. GE is the another option which has become available.
2 years back there was this cattle trade rules, these kind of things which disrupt these markets. But how do you see this? I mean, how does this compatible? Are you helping farmers, or you're trying to create trouble for farmers just because of political ideology? How do you negotiate this challenge, which disrupts a rising consumer demand on these issues?
No, in fact, if you look at livestock sector, last 5 years the growth rate is more than 6%. So I don't know whether any isolated incident happened. If there were so many problems, the livestock sector would not have been growing that fast. Fish is growing at more than 7. Precise growth is 7.45. In case of livestock product, the growth rate is 6.36%. It is the crop sector, particularly this your cereal, oilseed and pulses, which has a large share, which is not growing even at 1.3%. Its growth rate is 1.15%, because of which overall growth rate comes down to 2.9% for average of 5 years. Indian agriculture has now reached a stage where more the support by government, more the intervention by government, lower the growth. Less the support by government, more liberalize the sector, higher is the growth.